Oh, yay. That time it worked. Hi, I'm here, but not there. not where the camera is pointed. Turn this around. Get my glasses. Where the fuck are my glasses? There they are. Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit before I start talking. And I'm going to, you know, this is a holiday weekend that is a celebration of genocide and slavery. And I'm a hippie. I'm not LARPing as anything but me. And me happens to be a trans feminine intersex male. Okay? My sex is male. My gender is female. My presentation is gender neutral. My pronouns are she, her. I want to be looking at the camera, huh? I'm looking at the monitor rather than the camera. When I get my glasses on, I should be able to see them both and still look at the camera. Yeah. Anyway, because I want to be able to see if anybody said anything, how many people are here, shit like that. There's nobody here. But anyway, I posted a few things at AMB and Kiwi Farms about Indigenous rights and Thanksgiving Day. You know, this is the National Day of Mourning, Indigenous Day of Mourning. It has been for 50 years. There was a plea from a group of Australian Aboriginals who were saying that the mandatory vaccinations are killing their people and that the lockdowns are a land grab, that they're being pushed off their land. And I just posted that in Kiwi Farms and immediately got assaulted by somebody claiming to be Aboriginal for using the word tribal. And then he's going to bring out the false accusations against me. I'm not a pedophile. Nothing I've ever done that could possibly be construed as pedophilia. And the one thing that I admit to that is being described as a brutal gang rape doesn't qualify. If it had been prosecuted at all, it would have been a petty misdemeanor for sexual contact by an adult with a minor over 14, non-coital. What else? I want to play first to see if some people show up or ask some questions. So I am a member of an ancient clan, Hebrew priests and scribes, and I'm very well educated, both formally and informally, by wonderfully brilliant people all my life, some of them younger than me, some of them prominent, well known, and I have a reputation that I've built over the years, especially when it comes to the stones and the environment. And now in the last 10 years in terms of transgender, the science of sex and gender, and a lot of social implications of what's going on, I have a reputation for being honest and not saying things that are off the wall, totally unsupported by any documentation. I fact check myself. My friends fact check each other. We're the old boomer geeks and hippies and artists and educators, basically, who have been social justice warriors since the '60s. We're the people that were the old hippies. We're a piece of freedom movement. And all these people are just like phony. Their reasoning is irrational. Their argumentation is just chock full of fallacies all the time. It's a waste of time even interacting with most of them. Um, I get a lot of good news items, educational items from their conversations, but they're deviants. They're sociopaths. Most of them are sadomasochistic and voyeuristic. Got my main stalker. This guy's just a total sexual predator. Lives in mommy's basement. I'm gonna blow. I'm gonna blow. Hey, these people think I'm zooming too. That's funny. I don't zoom anymore. I haven't in a long, long time. I get to where I'm uh, writing it too much, and I'll get a little weird in the head. But as soon as I start getting a little weird in the head, because I've been writing too much, I back off and go play some music, take a walk, something. Meh. Anybody here? Not really. Nobody said anything either. Hi, whoever's here. No, I don't like the intonation either. I just don't want the intonation. I need to get this thing recorded. The mouthpiece slides down on the cork and then it gets sharp. And pull it out and then it slides back down real quick. Yeah, with this thing, I gotta get it recorded. It's getting me nuts. Okay, where's the flute? Shit. Well, that will be disturbing. Where is the bitch? Come on. Oh, there it is. Airway's getting kind of scuzzy in there. Clean it out. Mouthpiece gets fuzzy, and it just right up in the pit bowl, it'll get mucusal dry on there and get kind of furry sounding. And that, my friends, no matter how many times the completely amateur, incompetent fucking doctors of Kiwi Farms or another message board say that I'm dying of COPD, that is all about chronic congestion and postnasal drip from particulate allergies and a fucked up lymphatic system from genital surgery. I was at my doctor last week. She says, your heart and lungs sound good, except a little wheezy from the smoking. I'm working on it. Yeah, that's one asshole who's laughing. When I said particulate allergies. This is Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, psychology majors. I have never seen these people accuse me of things I've never even heard of regularly. I'm not like that. I really am. I'll read some things to you. My jaw's not hurting too bad. I should be able to last a little while talking. And they talk about this being what is it? A hovel, and what's the word they use? I forget. No, I don't want you to do that. But thanks for asking. Squalor. That's right. That's a fucking artist studio. It's pretty neat for an artist studio. And crazy. I'm a two-spirit, and I had to pretend to be male most of my life, and I was never really good at it. I managed to stay out of fights mostly. Stopped a few in my time, me and the dog, over the years. And I noticed I never got my face tore up. I'm not anything but Tommy. My pronouns are she, her. If you can't deal with it, use they. And if you want to insist on calling me Tom or Thomas and a man and all this other happy horse shit, you're just a transphobic dickwad. And being a transphobic dickwad and being confrontational because you're a schadenfreude dependent asshole. Hi Brianna. What did I say that got you so excited? I'm just an old queer hippie. I'm not a sexual predator in any way at all. I'm not a grifter. I'm not stupid. What can I say? Thanks. If someone does, this is the 21st century. Now, medical science has proven conclusively that there is nothing pathological about being homosexual or transgender. Okay? And long-term clinical studies have shown pretty conclusively that all of the behavioral health issues that are classically associated with being transgender are external stresses that cause them. It's not because they're queer, it's because they're being bullied for being queer. being discriminated against for being queer. They found that the kids who are raised in supportive environments, the suicide rate dropped to about 4%, which is lower than the average, which is more like 7 to 8% for teen suicide. And it's strictly because the kids are able to be themselves. You know, trans feminine men and trans masculine women exist. We're the most common kind of internet person there is, intersex person there is. And we're just what we are. We shouldn't be like forced to conform to these arbitrary standards of beauty and grooming and behavior or anything else. We should be able to behave in the ways that we feel most comfortable, behave and dress and groom ourselves in the ways that we feel most comfortable, the way we're happiest looking at ourselves in the mirror. And to have a gender role forced on a child because they have a penis or a vagina that's unnatural for the child's natural born or biological gender is just as hardwired as the kind of gamete that their gonads are going to make, because that's all sex is about. There's really nothing more to it. You know, it's more, you know, yeah, oh, X, 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 Y. Yeah, well, there's like 8 different karyotypes, and you know, it ain't just XXXY, and there's XYs with female characters, and there's XXs with male characters, and it just, nature's funny that way. It's not all binary. And science has shown that. And all this science denialism, it's just going to keep, and your society's going to crumble. You're just going to crumble. It's already crumbling. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. And so now this is the first time I've seen you around, Brianna. Tell me about yourself a little bit. I check my messages. Okay. Okay. So let's go take a look at some of the stupid shit that they've been saying at Kiwi Farms. You know, they call me a liar because I say things they don't believe, which makes them, you know, because they don't believe it, I lie. Or I'll say things that, you know, they'll just construe it into whatever context suits their narrative without any regard for what I actually meant. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you enjoy. Yeah, here's Uber Penguin. You know, Tom Bud. See, right from the gate. My name is not Tom. You are being assaultive with your first 2 words. I'm not your buddy, pal. The reason people don't pose rational arguments is because you're like some kid on a playground nobody believes, but can't explicitly disprove, because the second they bring up an inconsistency, he just invents an even more outlandish nonsense until they give up. I don't invent more outlandish nonsense. I back what I said in the first place. And you intellectually incompetent assholes and that thug, Dinah's demonstrated not only that you're clueless and don't give a shit about Aboriginal culture, but also, like all liberal elitists, the only thing you hate more than other white people is brown people who refuse to play victim, so you can use them as a weapon to attack other white people, which seems awfully gross and exploitative. Fuck you. Just fuck you. And then he's gonna go off on some musical shit that I'm not gonna even indulge. But here's what here's what these people have inferiority complexes and they need to talk down to me. And here's what he's in denial of projecting at me. I know it sucks not to feel special or relevant, but making up these absurd fantasies about transness and your Hebrew heritage and weed collectives and whatever else is awfully childish and a little depressing. You're a completely unremarkable old white guy who sits around all day getting stoned. You're a grown man, Tom. You need to stop playing pretend. Well, that's not true. It just appears that way to you. Okay? Now, I have been much less active since a near fatal accident in 1999, but I'm none of that, and I am part of whatever I said I am part of. And I'm nothing special or relevant. I'm part of a dynamic community of artists and educators about to save the planet. You're all a bunch of fucking dweebs, consumerist, statist, racist, elitist, classist, ableist, and in denial of it, blaming people like me for standing on a mountaintop and shouting about how the fucking sky's falling all over you. But I'm just Chicken Little, man. I'm just an old stoner. Fuck you, your children. Your children copping out. You're intellectually incompetent to debate me, and all you do is fucking make up bullshit and throw. Here's a pseudo intellectual pastiche of ad hominem bullshit. This total ad hominem bullshit. I'm not even gonna bother with these people. I know nothing about Aboriginal Australia. I'm deeply invested in the history of my people and in the in the history of the true history of the people of this continent because this is where I'm native. I posted the thing in all innocence, and because it said tribal, I got jumped by an Aborigine. Fuck you. It's just fuck you. Let's go to the one about the American, because I really didn't know anything about these people. Nothing. I only knew one native Australian prior to this who was involved in the Palestinian support. So I want to read this first in case Brianna's going to go to bed. First, I want to read something that Dandelion Salad published by a fellow named Paul Street. When America was great, indigenous people's history is more complicated than a holiday myth. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings are a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. And that was Frederick Douglass speaking on July 4th in 1852, which he was probably speaking to some serious Indian shit going on. So together, Donald Make America Great Trump told U.S. Academy graduates last May, there is nothing Americans can't do, absolutely nothing. In recent years and even decades, Trump added, too many people have forgotten that truth. They've forgotten that our ancestors trounced an empire, tamed a continent, and triumphed over the worst evils in history. Hold on to those thoughts. I was reminded of Trump's statement recently as I reflected on the remarkable record of climate change-driven extreme weather events that have hit the United States in recent years.
Epic wildfires, droughts, rains, floods, tornadoes, snowfalls, and hurricanes are humbling U.S. America. They're only a foretaste of the stern continental taming U.S. Americans can expect at the hands of Mother Nature in coming years. Where was one to begin in processing the untruth and affront embedded in Trump's reflection on how America was once great? Our ancestors? Our paternal grandfather may have been descended from original 18th or even 17th century Scotch-Irish immigrants to North America, but my largest ethnic strain is Finnish, thanks to the Lutala family's chain migration to DeKalb, Illinois in the early 20th century, long after the closing of the western frontier. The Lutalas worked in barbed wire plants to help the continent's capitalist tamers takers mark their territorial conquests off as private property. Like hundreds of millions of other U.S. Americans, I have ancestors who came long after the nation's original white and mostly English, Irish, and German settlers. Currently, 14% of the U.S. population is foreign born, the largest percentage since 1910. Right after my Finnish great grandparents arrived, when 15% of US Americans were born in other countries. These ancestors trounced an empire? Not really. The US merely broke off from the western edge of the British Empire, which would go on to rule a world like no global hegemon until the post-World War II Pax Americana. More on that lovely formation below. The British Empire had a pretty damn good run from the end of the Napoleonic Wars through the rest of the 19th century. For what it's worth, the propertied masters atop the so-called American Revolution understood their new slave-owning republic as an empire of liberty, they called it, with no sense of irony given their dedication to the ruthless ethnic cleansing, to use a 20th century phrase, of the nation's original inhabitants and the expansion of black chattel slavery. Tamed the continent, leaving aside the fact that Canada and Mexico also hold much of the North America. Trump's phrase was an insolent slight of the nation's continent's original inhabitants. Here, the president channeled the original settlers' concept of the 10 to 18 million human beings who lived in North America prior to white European invasion as prehistoric savages who required the stern hand of the civilist white man to impose order. It was Orwellian twaddle and truth inversion. The continent's First Nations people were highly civilized, unscathed by class rule, and harmoniously connected to the natural environment in ways that hold critical significance for human and other living things in our current age of capitalist ecocide. As the Native American author and activist Ward Churchill wrote more than 2 decades ago, on the day Christopher Columbus first washed up on a Caribbean beach, North America is long since endowed with an abundant and exceedingly complex cluster of civilizations. Having continuously occupied the continent for at least 50,000 years, the native inhabitants then evidenced a total population of perhaps 15 million. Nobody knows. And it was probably much more than that. But nobody ever took a census and nobody ever counted the bodies. Cities as large as the 40,000 resident urban center at Cahokia in present-day Illinois, highly advanced conceptions of architecture and engineering, spiritual traditions embodying equivalents to modern ecoscience, refined knowledge of pharmacology and holistic medicine, and highly sophisticated systems of governance, trade, and diplomacy. The traditional economies of the continent were based in environmentally sound farming procedures, which originated well over half the vegetable foodstuffs now consumed by peoples the world over. By and large, the indigenous societies demonstrating such attainments were organized along extremely egalitarian lines, with real property held collectively and matrifocality a normative standard. Matrifocality. That's as opposed to patriarchal. Pre-conquest North America contained large-scale societies which had perfected ways of organizing themselves into psychologically fulfilling wholes experiencing very high standards of living and still maintaining environmental harmony. War, in the Euro-derived sense in which the term is understood today as highly organized mass annihilation, was unknown among and between First Nations. This is not entirely true. They weren't this, um, paragon of virtue society. The the Inca, Aztec, Mayan rulers were pretty bloody. Comanches ate each other, they ate their enemies. Um, they're as best the archaeologists can see, though, is that it is true that war as mass annihilation, highly organized mass annihilation, did not happen in North America. There were some serious massacres in South America, Central and South America that they found, but there's only one, and it was only a few hundred people. It wasn't giant. In Crow Creek, South Dakota. Otherwise, they say that intertribal warfare was not much more violent than a polo match in North America. It changed though after the invasion of the Europeans because the territories were not like staked out so much. There were places where the people lived and they hunted and such and gathered food, and their migratory routes overlapped a lot, and they traded a lot among each other. It was just they got along. They had these common laws of interacting with community contracts and whatever they called it. But what happened when the colonizers showed up is that the rival tribes would side with one side or the other, with the Brits or the French or whoever against their neighboring tribe and take over their territory. This is what happened to the Ho-Chunk in Wisconsin, were crowded out by the Ojibwe from the north and east and Algonquian tribes from the straight east, and they had allied with the British, so they kind of ended up on the short end of the stick when the Americans took over. I forget it. I can't speak any more coherently about what happened next, but they signed a couple of treaties, and they were mostly scattered around. But there's a lot of them that are still on their ancestral lands in north central Wisconsin. Let's see if there's any questions or nobody. No. I guess the idiots just aren't getting any traction. I don't, none of my regulars have noticed that I'm on the air right now. Or they would have said something. There's a few wrenches that would have showed up, but they haven't. No, I'm saying anything to that. That's just stupid. Yeah, these little, there's some about identity politics and cancel culture and this social warrior shit of these video gamers. They have all these like buzzwords and shit. There's one. This is a perfect example of phenomenon where liberals buzzword speak over Native Americans to virtue signal and then turn racist when the natives fight back. Um, there wasn't, uh, you know, I've been involved in this since the early 1980s. Okay. I speak over nobody. I listen to everybody. I give my opinion. My opinion is either respected or rejected, but nobody gets hostile with me. They're real, you know. I amplify I don't speak over others. I amplify the words of the credible speakers and reject the bullshit of the reactionary racists and just people that are on the wrong track. This is I have the people that I'm been following for many years. I post a lot of John Trudell work all the time. I was just blowing off some of the, that you're not native. Shut up. It's like the BLM people. You're not black. Put a sock in it. Sit down. Fuck you. I'm a human. People don't come in black or white. The rainbow people, I'm well recognized as a rainbow warrior. Yeah, I'm one of the hippies, and yeah, you call it cultural appropriation all you like. I've been taught by native medicine people. My friend Ferguson Plain, for instance, told me that when I do the smudging ceremony, I should say the Hebrew prayers. So I do. I'm an unorthodox Jew. I'm a Native American Hebrew Israelite. And card carrying native elders, council members accept me as a native born American with an indigenous mindset who is a good ally and good neighbor. I got a lot of useful skills in environmental engineering, cost accounting, medicine. You people are a bunch of like opinionated assholes. It's like, you're opinionated assholes who hide behind cartoon characters. Yeah, it's like fuck you. This is stupid. It's just stupid to even interact with you idiots. Let's see if there's anything fresh that I need to respond to. Well, that was a mistake. We'll just put that out. This stupid people. Mean, stupid people. I should have left that conversation the first time I responded to the fucking idiot. Yeah, here they are projecting their zoophilic fantasies at me. Fuck you. I'm not playing, boys. I'm just not gonna play with that. Um, wow. Wow. Huh. Uh, the Sneasel Stalker had found a mention of me in a college textbook. I don't need him. I'm gonna need to contact this guy and get him to um modify that. I really don't. I'm not a Native American in caps. I'm a native born Hebrew Israelite. Not exactly the same thing. And I mean, this is when I'm wrong. I admit, and I am native to America. I am not Native American in terms of member of a recognized sovereign nation of Native Americans. I'm just a native born American. That's such illusions. That's interesting. This is what I'm in chapter 2 of this book. Um, Queer adolescence, understanding the lives of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual youth. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be a girl until the day before my sister's first birthday party. I wasn't quite 4 and was expecting to get my hair curled and my cousin's pink dress to wear. Instead, I was taken from my purse of countless buzz cuts and dressed up in a really stupid looking sailor suit. My parents refused to listen to any of my complaints, and they were hitters, so I shut up quickly and played along the best as best I could. Tommy Jane is a Native American two-spirit intersex person who identifies as heterosexual. She was born in 1954 and grew up in upper middle class in an urban neighborhood in Illinois. She was subjected to general surgery as a toddler, leaving her with an overactive penis and a brain that can't see it properly. Her first sex education lesson came from her parents, informing her that girls didn't have penises and boys only cried when they bleed at about age 4. They explained the process of heterosexual sex to her at an early age and then never talked about it again. Puberty was a nightmare for Tommy Jane. Her physique was very feminine, and puberty came late, so she was bullied in the high school locker rooms. She masturbated frequently to cope with gender dysphoria. She says, I made my deal with Spirit Young and just resolved to take it as it came and play male as best I could. Her parents were abusive, and she went to live with her aunt in high school. While she knew that she was a girl from a young age, she suppressed her identity due to abuse. She was caught cross-dressing twice and punished severely, so she stopped doing that and hid behind a beard and grungy clothes for years. She finally came out in 2010 and began transitioning in 2014. The biggest change for her was not being self-conscious about how she moved, posed, or spoke. She could finally be herself and not pretend to be male. She says that hormone replacement therapy has made her feel peaceful and comfortable at last. For Tommy Jane, an ideal adolescence would be to have had what she sees trans kids experiencing now. She wishes that she had been raised like Jazz Jennings in a supportive family with early access to transition options. She also thinks that there should be better indexing of transgender resources so that they are more easily discoverable. And so these guys are going to read this and still call me a transgender because they're just transphobic assholes who are programmed to hate me. They're being paid to hate me. They're making money hating me. Let's see what else is worth looking at with these fools. I was really going to grab something about. I was looking to grab something. Oh, here we go. That's a waste of time. See if anybody's around saying anything. Hi, Milk Toast. Thanks for coming. Yeah, Sal user at I doubt that I'm important enough for people to do things to me. I was shot by a contract killer, by a contract hitman. And some people seem to be like, I mean, I'm not afraid of it. He'll come. He's probably not going to walk away. My neighbors are usually like watching things out in front. The cop shop's only 2 blocks away. They're fast here. I'm really not worried about it. Now here's Sal user. Clearly, you're not important enough for anyone to come do anything to you. The fear you live in is of your own creation. I don't live in fear. I'm being cautious that this idiot will actually show up. But I'm not afraid of it. It's another shit sandwich life wants to feed me. And since there really aren't many people here, and I already read the thing I wanted to read, and my jaw's starting to hurt from talking too much. Thanks for coming. I'm out of here. Happy day. Bye.